Hello.
Hello, 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 hello. I love you.
We love you.
I love you. Oh, we are wanting all of you right now, wherever it is that you are, to say, I love you. I love you. And perhaps you are with someone else and you can just look in their eyes and say, I love you. And perhaps you are by yourself and you can say to yourself, I love you. I love you. We're wanting you all to remember who it is that you are. Really who it is that you are. The essence of your being. When you put aside everything in the mind and all of the chatter and all of the thoughts and all of the identity of who it is that you think you are, and you really, really drop into the essence of who you are in a remembering of who you were before you were here. So take a moment and just begin to even contemplate that thought. Who am I? I am a mother, I am a daughter, I have a name, I have a career, I am an artist, I am a businesswoman, I am an accountant, I am a father. And put all that aside for a moment, as if you had no name and you weren't identified with anything and you just were. And drop into your heart and begin to place your hand right now on your heart. And just feel your breath. And take a moment to feel your heart beating. And just remember who you are. Not with your mind, but with the essence of yourself in your heart. Or it is that your mind cannot make your heart beat as much as you might try to think about it. You can't do it. There is some force. You might call it innate intelligence. You might call it the universal law. You might call it God. Whatever it is you're wanting to call it, it's an energy, and that energy is innately a wisdom that resides in you, and it's all-knowing, and it's filled with love, and it came from love, and it will return to love, for you are here temporarily in this body. And as you are here temporarily in this body, you are here to feel, to know, and to express, and to be love. Everything actually is love. And in all the work and all the teachings and all the things that we do with all of you, at the end of the day, there is nothing else but love. And many of you ask me, but what is love? And perhaps we can answer some of that today in your questions. But love is just a pure essence of an intelligence of wisdom that is expressing itself through form in this particular case. You're experiencing love through form, through matter, and through structure. And where it is that I am experiencing love, it's just in a sea of oneness, for there is no form or matter or separateness, for there is no you or me or I or he or she, for it is all one and the same. It is everything, as we often say, and it is also nothing. It is in the nothingness and the stillness that the love arises, and the remembering that the essence of who you are is love. And yet the word love itself has gotten twisted because it has been identified with, I will love you when you behave this way. And I will love myself when I do this or I do that. But love has nothing to do with an accomplishment or an identity or an end result to anything. It is just pure acceptance of the presence of what is right now. And even if what is right now is uncomfortable, it is a willingness to sit in the presence of that uncomfortableness and be held in the presence of love. For it is often when you are most uncomfortable and suffering, you are moving through an opportunity to feel and to express and to see love for self. It is the denial of love for self that creates the suffering, and it is the resistance to what is, whatever it may be, at any given moment in time, whether it be a pain in the body or a mental upset or discord or disharmony or dysfunction or mental illness or anxiety or stress. It is the resistance to whatever is presenting itself that continues, whatever it is, to continue to move forward and to be sat in it. And so it is the acceptance aligned with the energy and the vibration of love to whatever is presenting itself in any moment that allows it to move through you. And as it moves through you, it dissolves. But it cannot be a willingness to accept it in the idea or the thought that in accepting it, it will resolve itself, because in that in itself there is an agenda. But when the agenda is no longer there and the fixing has fallen away to find solution but a willingness to be, the solution arises and the synchronicity of life falls into place and it begins to show itself to you. And then there is a willingness to make a change in order to grow and in order for the opening to occur for something new to show up, in which you are no longer sitting in what you would perceive to understand or label as the suffering. As a great Buddha perhaps would say, it is that it is sitting in the suffering that is ending the suffering. It is a willingness to accept and to be where it is that you are. And in the stillness of that essence, you align with what you would label or call the vibration of love itself. For you are love. So I want you today to get up when we are finished this call, and I want you to look in the mirror. And I want you to go, and whether you're with a friend or a daughter or a grandchild or a son or your grandfather or a friend, or if you're alone or with a spouse, go wherever it is with another or self and look in the mirror and see your eyes, for the eyes truly are the gateway, in a sense, to the soul. They are the part in which the reflection of all reality forms to create the illusion of what you understand to be your truth. And as you look into the eyes, see yourself in a way you've never seen yourself before. Drop the chatter in the mind and the illusion of the name of who you think you are, and just see the essence of yourself, the part of self that you have forgotten that was held and cradled in my arms, as I, as an angelic being, held you in your decision and choice to descend into form and matter, to be in a body here now on earth. And as you look into your eyes, find that part, that soul, that essence that is still awake, that has not forgotten who you are. And look at him or her and say, I see you. And this is an exercise we often do, but we want you to do it with purity of heart and to do it diligently in a willingness to see the perception of who you are beyond the idea of who you think you are, with the label or the identity around what it is that you think you should be or should not be, but who you are in this present now moment. Without any criticism or judgment, I see you. And as you look in the eyes, say, I see you, and I love you. And some of you may be able to do this with great ease, and others it might make you feel extremely uncomfortable. And in the uncomfortableness, stand there and stay in the presence of looking at self with the idea of I love you, meaning I completely and absolutely love and accept who it is that you are, not who you're going to be when something changes from where you are now, but in the presence of this second, I love you, just because you are, not because of what I want you to do or become, but because you are who you are. And in that, see who you are and say, I see you, I love you. And in that, an opening happens. And in the opening, a willingness to accept the presence of the now arises. And in that in which you have been resisting or holding in the criticalness of the mind begins to dissolve in a remembering that you are so much more than the idea of what you think you are. And in that, it gives you a glimpse into the place in which there is no time and there is no space, there is no to-do and there is no fixing, there just is. And it is in that place that you will be born into again, and that place is what you understand to be the time of transition or death, in which you are born back into that source. But you cannot birth yourself back into that source until you have walked the pathway of opening and growing. For we feel great pain from the angelic realm in which we see many young ones taking their life. And we want to remind you, to remind them and all of those in one's life who may be in such a dire need in their heart, that in doing that, you return again to do it again and you find yourself right where you are. For it does not end the pain or the suffering that you feel in the now. It only prolongs it, for it continues and repeats itself until you are able to open and pass through the gateway of love for who you are. And when you are in the gateway of self-love, then you love and honor yourself in order to care for yourself, nurture yourself, give yourself nutrients, and see that you are divine and perfect already as you are, not who you think you should be. And you are not your body. You are not how you look. You are not your career or your name. You are not how much money you have or where you live. You are not any of those things, for they are temporary illusions of the presence of what you think you are. You are more than that. And when you awaken to that knowing, then all those things in which you align with in a human experience that you want to express through having a physical body begin to express. And you automatically become radiant and beautiful, not in the features that you were given at birth, but the radiance of your soul that moves through your being and the light in your eyes. You radiate light. And that light is radiated through you in the expression of the purpose of the gifts that you are given, whether you were to be an artist or a musician or a writer or a business person or connected with science, or to whatever it is that you are brought to express or to heal or to share or to connect to or to help others, to serve them in some way in a transition or in the building of something or the letting go of something of any kind, or the healing of the body or the mind or the soul, that you are expressing something to contribute to the greater whole, which is a part of self, because you are not separate from anything. It is all part of you. And so when one of you suffers, you all feel the angst and the pain in your heart, because there is no separation. And in the remembering of that, you begin to bring an awareness to the knowing that it is in the stilling of the mind and the willingness to be present as to where it is that you are, when the ego dissolves and you can accept what is presenting itself as an opportunity to change and to grow, that you can really then do what we speak of in this call, and it is called self-love. So self-love is loving and accepting wherever it is that you are in the now moment. So with that, perhaps we can answer your questions. Aww. Hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for all of that, Raphael. Amazing. The first question we have asks, Hi, Archangel Raphael. I struggle with loneliness and feeling peaceful when I'm without a significant partner in my life. I'd like to hear how to practice more self-love when feeling lonely. Thank you.
It is often that in one's human experience, one has a period of time in which they encounter loneliness. And loneliness is an opportunity for what we call solitude. For loneliness and solitude, although may seem similar, they are quite different. For when it is that you are lonely, you are in need of companionship. And often in companionship, you are seeking to fill something that is missing. Often one will say, well, I found my person or my partner, and now I am complete. And it is important to recognize that complete and wholeness comes not from the neediness of bringing love from another to self, but feeling whole within oneself. And so wholeness and self-love is an ability to be all right when you are alone, to have a sense of comfortableness in that. Now, that doesn't mean that there isn't a human need or nature for compatibility and company and connection and love, but it is that the word love often gets quite confusing and when it is aligned with a relationship, because it is to truly unconditionally love another is something that is not often seen in human form, because love gets very mixed up and entangled with attachment and a need to those needs to be filled. But solitude is different than loneliness. Solitude is a willingness to just be still in the presence of silence, without anything but self, as an opportunity to practice an awareness around your essence and coming into the presence of feeling joy, just being in a place of stillness and peace. And so when one finds themselves lonely, ask if you can transition from loneliness, which is a need that you are wanting to have filled by another, to embracing the possibility that it is a gift to receive solitude and quiet and stillness. And in that stillness is an opportunity to align with love, but the love for who you are in the presence of that awareness of being. And in that presence of being, and in that acceptance of what you might call loneliness and we're calling solitude, something eventually, not with doing it for it to occur, but it will arise, something new will show up. And it will create a stirring, which will create almost a movement and a need to express and to change, for a metamorphosis opening to happen. And in that, you might find yourself wanting to go somewhere to a park, or you might want to start engaging in something different that you haven't done before, learning something new. And in that, the universe will conspire and move together to bring others into your experience, and that sense of loneliness then is filled. But if you go seeking for yourself to be complete by receiving compatibility from another, from a place of a need, but not from a place of wholeness, even if you connect with the other, the love is not truly pure, because it is based on the filling of something in which you are missing, rather than coming from a place of wholeness. So when life brings to you a space of what you might call loneliness, we see you to recognize it as an opportunity to be in solitude, and in solitude to become and to marry and to merge with yourself fully in the willingness to completely love who you are, and that from that wholeness an expression or movement or desire will begin to bubble up, that will open up doorways and opportunities for what you're calling a companion or loved one to come into your experience, for two whole beings to come together and to share one another's love without expectation or need, but just a willingness to play together and to have companionship. And so we understand the feeling of loneliness, but sometimes it is in the willingness to sit in it that the most growth occurs. For often others are always trying, they'll go from one to the next, to the next, to the next. But that's always seeking to fill a need of a vacuum, of a space that hasn't been loved. And so if you can see the beauty and the gift in the silence and the solitude to love self fully, you become whole. And in that wholeness, you create a vibration, and then you match that vibration with another who is whole, and then together you can dance together in playfulness. What is it?
Thank you so much, Raphael. The next question is, I would love myself more if I had the right size body. I have good intentions when I go on a diet, but I always quit and then I start again later and quit again. How can I have the discipline to stay on my eating plan without an emotional event or whatever is causing me to quit? I anxiously await your dieting secret so I will have success and be happy and love myself. Thank you.
It is that no diet can make one happy. You are very funny. And we don't even understand from our perspective what a diet is. What is a diet? A diet is deprivation from food. And the opposite is not eating enough food. What is that? That is depriving oneself nutrients. And both come from the same place, a willingness not to love who you are right now. A deprivation of some sort, depriving oneself of love, of nutrients. And why? Because the mind is critical, and it's going about criticizing itself of what it should be, or blaming another for what it is that they did or did not do. And in the blaming of another, the critical energy is then aligned to self, that they are not good enough. They don't feel good enough because another has hurt them in some way, which makes them feel less than, and so they must deprive themselves of the basic need of food, or they must overindulge in food in order to feel loved. And so whenever one feels they need to diet, something is out of balance in the emotional part of self. And it is not that you will love yourself more if you are thinner, or if you are more beautiful, or if you are anything other than who you are now. So what we ask you to do in this circumstance is to take off your clothes and to stand in the mirror and to see yourself and to accept who it is that you are in the presence of this now, not in the illusion of who you think you should be, but really look at yourself. Really actually look, not with a filter in the mind, but see who you are. And when you see yourself love every roll and every crevice, if you are overweight, and if you are underweight, love and see your body, that you must nourish it, that it is your home, that it gives you life, that it is what houses you, and you must care for it. So self-love is not going on a diet or finding a fix. Self-love is an awareness around food, that food was given to you by Mother Earth as a gift to nourish your body, and that when you love your body, you receive with blessing the food that is this magnificent gift that was born out of the soil for you. And so diet is one that has arisen from great dysfunction around food, that food has forgotten its source, that you've forgotten that food should be only those things that Mother Earth has given you. And if she has not given it to you and it has been changed or modified or processed over and over and over, it's not food. Food is the apple on the tree and the kale in the garden. Food is the chicken running around and the egg. Food is the nuts. And it is that food comes and is given as a gift to be honored and to be loved and to be accepted. And when it is in balance of enough or too much, when you have conscious awareness around it, then you can heal whether you're overweight and heavy or underweight, because food is very much tied in your culture to emotion. Either deprivation of not enough or overindulgence of too much to numb something. You're trying to numb a pain. And it's simply a symptom of something in which you're not seeing. And you're not seeing it because the critical mind is running around and around. And so it is in stillness and meditation and an awareness of the story falling away, whatever story it is you're telling yourself, and allowing it to drop in the presence of where you are, that you can receive the God-given nutrients of the light source within food to rebalance your system in whatever direction is needed. So we say to you, you will not more when you are thinner. You will not love yourself more when you are more weight. You will not love yourself more when you look a certain way. You have to love who it is that you are now, because it is in the resistance to where you are now and the denial of where you are now that you cannot love self. And when you cannot love self, you cannot bring balance around food to bring the body into the alignment of where it is that it should be. And this is something we see in your culture everywhere. And it is very common. And so do not feel in any way, if you are struggling with this in either direction, that you are alone. For this is a very common symptom. And it is one that can fully and completely be healed. And we want you to hear that. You can completely and fully be healed. But the place of healing is to start to realize that food is energy, and it is given to you as a nutrient to provide energy and nothing more. And yes, it has taste, and it has touch, and it has smell, and it has texture. But when you bring it into balance and you come in touch with all the senses around it and you enjoy it, and you notice an emotion arising that you need to eat more and more of it, or you push it away that you don't want to have any of it, just begin to have an awareness around that. What is that about? Conscious awareness around food means chewing it, every bite. It means praying over it. It means blessing in it. It means accepting it into your body. It means an awareness of, is this food good for me, or is it packaged? Is it going to bring light into my body or create disease? Start having a conversation and an awareness around food. But there is no such thing as a diet. The diet is very simple. You need to move your body and exercise it. You need to eat food in moderation and in balance, not too much and not too little. You need to drink large quantities of water to keep yourself hydrated. And you need to love and accept who you are and where you are now. And that's all. That's it. That's all there is to it. There's nothing really more than that. And yet it's become very complicated with all kinds of programs and ideas and ways of doing it, and how much should I have and how much should I not, and should I have a shake first and then another one at night, and if I do the paleo diet, or whatever these different words are you all call them. It is going back to, if God gave it to you and it was born as a gift for you to eat, then eat it in gratitude and in a proportion that is in alignment with who you are, that nourishes your body and your cells, and bless it and chew it slowly, and all the rest would begin to fall away. Now we know it's not that easy, because there is the emotional component. And so the question, as I recall, was, I will love myself after I go on a diet and I'm the body weight that I want to be. And we tell you, you won't love yourself more. Even if you look absolutely perfect, like a Barbie doll, that does not mean you will love yourself any more than you love yourself now. So you must love yourself just for the sake of you are worthy to be loved because you are now, regardless of how you look. Because how you look is not who you are. It is just the vessel that you happen to be housed in temporarily, but it has nothing to do with you and who you are. So accept the vehicle and the body that you have now and love it. And maybe you need to put your hands on it and massage it and just say, I love you. Rub right now your arms and say, I love you. Rub your legs and say, I love you. Rub your heart. Rub your face and your cheeks. Look in your eyes and say, I love you. Thank you for this body. I love my body. I love my body right now how it is. We're in Kelly's body right now. She has fat arms, she says. She has a big belly. She's overweight. But she's perfect. She's beautiful. She has beautiful eyes and curly hair. And people love her because she is who she is, not because she has a few rolls on her stomach or her arms aren't thin or she doesn't look good in a bathing suit. She is loved anyway. And so are you. Think of those that you know who perhaps are overweight or underweight or attractive or not attractive. Do you love them more or less? Think of the ones you love the most. Are they perfect? Do people just love them anyway? Yeah, they just love them because they're divine beings and they have a gift of love to bring to the world. And each of you do. And just as you love so many people who aren't perfect, they might have scraggly thin hair or a very big nose or crooked teeth. They might have a funny eye or a strange butt. They might have rolls on their neck or wrinkles underneath their eyes. But you love them. And just as you love them, they love you. Just as you are, because you're perfect already. You don't have to be anything. You are not who you look like. You are a divine being of love. So accept and enjoy and embrace every single wrinkle and roll and blemish or pimple, every bone, every wrinkle, every piece of self. Embrace and love it. And if you are loving your body and you're listening to it, it might be screaming to you, you've given me so much food I can barely walk and breathe, stop feeding me. Or it might say to you, you're not feeding me, I'm dying in here, I need water, I need food, I need sunlight, I need fruits and vegetables and meats, I need food, I'm dying in here, feed me. So listen to your body. It's your home, and it's the only home that you're going to have in this lifetime. And you must take care of it so that it can be filled with light and express itself. So when you're eating foods that are given from the earth and they're filled with the light from the photosynthesis and the water and the nutrients and they're picked with love and you bring them into your body, your cells say thank you and they wake up. And when your cells wake up, you wake up. And when you wake up, you are the best being that you can be. So I beg of you, accept and love who you are now, not after your diet. And that there is no diet other than the reasonable remembering and understanding of movement, nourishing food, and a willingness to receive and accept it with gratitude.
Thank you so much. Wow, I have a feeling we all needed to hear that. The next question is, how does one forgive oneself for past mistakes?
It is that everyone on earth who is in a physical body has made a mistake. Everyone. And there is no shame or guilt. And from our perspective, there actually aren't even any mistakes because they're all an opportunity for growth for self and those in which even they were inflicted upon another. For there are agreements that take place prior to coming to earth. And sometimes it becomes esoteric and hard to wrap one's mind around. But even the most horrific act that is done, there is always the perpetrator and the victim. And even in nature, there is the predatory and the prey. It is part of the evolutionary process of experience of interaction and change and growth. And the perpetrator has to forgive self, and the victim has to forgive the perpetrator. But it all intertwined and came together because even the victim has learned something when it is harmed that allows a shift in who it is that they are to open up to change and growth. So it is a dance. And so loving oneself and forgiveness are intertwined in the same. Often we speak of this, Ho'oponopono. Many of you are very familiar with it, which is the Hawaiian tradition of I see you, I love you, please forgive me, and thank you. And it is that often one wants to forgive another person. They will look at that person in their eyes and they will say, I love you, and I'm so sorry for my part that I played in whatever has happened, and please forgive me. But they forget that they can do the same exercise for themselves. Because even in a relationship, when someone else has hurt you, that you need to forgive them, you've always participated some way, for you're always both on some level participating. And one might say, yeah, well, what if a child is raped? Then the child's not participating in that, and of course not. But energetically, there is an opportunity there for growth for both souls, not that anyone is attracting or asking for that or is involved in that, no, but it is a way for a connection for the souls from old agreements and karmic relationships to evolve and to shift and to change and to grow. And as your culture and the human collectiveness begins to remember that you are not separate and doesn't see each other as separateness, that karmic interaction of the perpetrator and the victim begins to dissolve. And as you become more conscious and awake in conscious beings who are fully in the awareness of who they are not behaving in actions that are creating this pain. But as of now, the collective consciousness is still playing that game. And as it's playing it, when you need to forgive yourself is a willingness to simply be present where you are and know that the act in which was created in a time that isn't in the presence of now, but in the past. And when you're dwelling in the past or worrying about the future, you're not consciously aware. Conscious awareness is right here and now. It's not dwelling on what you did or what will happen or what has happened, but what is happening. And as you keep bringing your awareness back to right now in this moment, am I okay? Right here, am I sitting here in this second, am I okay? Yeah, I am. I am okay now. I am okay now. And as you keep coming into the now and keep asking yourself in this now, where is it that I am? You start to dissolve the attachment to what has happened and what will happen into where you are. And from there, healing begins. And so to forgive oneself is to recognize that the behavior that occurred in a moment in which you were unconscious of what it is you were doing. Even though there may have been intent, you couldn't have been fully conscious because you were doing it out of a place that was in alignment with an unconscious part of self that was connected to the ego. When the ego is out of place, it is in fear. When the ego is in fear, it feels less than. When the ego feels less than, it acts in ways to feel whole, and often it can do that in order to receive something that can be harmful to another. And so an unconscious act that one participates in, either by being the one who did it or the one who is on the receiving end of it, and the recognition that it often is not an intent of actual evilness, but an intent of an unconscious person, that you can be consciously aware of that and bring forgiveness to that unconscious part, you become whole. So, love yourself enough to forgive yourself, because you can forgive another probably easier than self. And it is in forgiving oneself and accepting and loving who you are now, in an awareness that you have an awareness enough to know that something in which you did you want to ask for forgiveness of means you're already awake. And in that awakened state, love and accept what is. And from there, bring the expression of whatever was learned from that event to come forward now, to be utilized and to propel you into being your best self. And whatever that is, in itself, is perfect. What is it?
Wow, thank you so much, Raphael. The next question is, hello, dear Kelly and Archangel Raphael. I love you both and continue to work on loving myself. How can I discern when I'm trying to love myself more if I am just seeking the ego's comfort of resting and relaxing instead of loving myself by sacrificing or pushing forward through necessary situations that are for my soul growth? In other words, I want to make sure that I'm not just trying to take the easier, softer way because it is uncomfortable to my ego. Today, I did not go to church and rested instead, but I'm not positive that this was self-love. I'm grateful for your wisdom, insight, and support.
Self-love and laziness are two different things. And it is that sometimes self-love means indulging in deeply caring for self, which might mean that you need to tune into the body and realize the body needs more sleep, or the body needs a walk, or the body needs a massage, or the body needs to say no to going to a social event, or the body needs quiet time. And that is self-love and also self-care. And self-care is taking care of self and filling self to be full, so that in the fullness you can be of service to others. Self-love does not mean not caring for, not taking action, not doing things, not contributing to society, but you cannot give to others if you are not full. And so self-love is often connected also with self-care, that you must care for self first before you can give and truly give to another. You cannot give to another fully, nor are you of any service to them or really giving if you're completely depleted. Now, there are exceptions to that in a situation of an emergency where you have to pull on your strength to stand up in that moment and to do whatever is necessary to care for a loved one in an emergency. Or if you have a newborn baby and they're crying during the night, you might want to sleep, but you have to get up and care for that baby because you love that baby. And if it's crying and it needs to be fed, you have to feed it even if you're tired. So there are moments in which you have to override self-care in order to align with a caring for another. But when you're not in those situations, we ask you to first always love and care for and nurture yourself. And even in the example of a mother and a newborn baby, then when the baby is sleeping, instead of running around or shopping or cleaning or whatever, the mother must sleep and care for herself so that she is full to give to the baby, because she is depleted over time. She cannot be the mother she is wanting to be. So it is that when you speak about that you stayed home from church, it is that, did you feel that you needed to rest and nurture your body? That is self-love, and that's all right. There's no obligation to go somewhere. And if you're not going to church, but then you're feeling guilty about it or ashamed about it, then that's not self-love either. So we want you to remove any guilt or any shame about not doing something if you've chosen to take care of yourself. That is self-love. And remind you that self-care is self-love, and that when you have the opportunities in life, that things are quiet and you can love yourself and you can nurture yourself. It's like filling the tank for when times show up where you're called in the middle of the night to an emergency room, or a parent is dying, or a loved one, or an accident has happened and you have to rush to a scene, or you have a child who isn't well. Those are the times that then you pull on those resources because you had filled your tank and loved yourself when you could. You don't always have the opportunity, but whenever you do, we want you to keep filling your tank and nurturing yourself and knowing your boundaries and knowing it's okay to say no. And if you're not if you're not in a place right now where you can love yourself, then any time that you can just close your eyes and be still and meditate in the car when someone's driving you somewhere, or before early in the morning, get up, it'll replenish you and nourish you to get through a hard time. And if you're at a moment in your life where things are a bit easy and you can take care of yourself, fill yourself and nurture yourself and bring balance to it. So self-care is very important. And when we are tapping into the vibration of the one asking this question, we recognize that a lot of guilt has actually come from religion and shame, and that somehow it's not all right to take care of yourself. And we're wanting you to know that you have complete and absolute permission to stay home from church and to nurture your body and to rest. But that doesn't mean that you won't be of service, and that once you're full, you won't want to go out and express and to give and to contribute to the world. For it's in ebbs and flows. There's times in your life when you're out and giving and being of service and helping and healing and sharing and talking and social and busy and doing and helping. And there are times where you're cocooning and quiet and in solitude and resting and pulling back and getting massages and hot baths and nurturing yourself. It's an ebb and flow of life and energy. But when those times come to nurture yourself, or when you're depleted and you don't, then you're out of integrity with caring and loving self. So we want to remind you all to go look in the mirror as we complete our call, or to look at your loved one and to see them in their eyes. And it might bring tears to you and to each other or to yourself, but it will remind you that you are so much more than what you think you are. And look in the mirror and say, I see you, I love you, I love you. And with that, many blessings, much love, and good day. Wow.